America, girl, what are you doing? Our biggest setback, arguably, really is the uneducated. There are so many people who've said, well, I didn't vote for that. I didn't know what I was voting for. Y'all are the fucking problem. So we're going to combat ignorance today with information and empowerment because knowledge is power. So let's, in this video essay, I don't know, let's look at some things we need to know. Let's talk tariffs. You've probably heard the word thrown around a lot during Trump's presidency, especially when it came to his so-called tough stance on China. But here's what most people don't understand. Tariffs are taxes, not on the country we're targeting, but on us, on American importers, on businesses, and eventually on regular people just trying to buy things. Here's how it works. Let's say a company in the US imports $100,000 worth of steel from China. Trump throws a 25% tariff on it. Now it costs them $125,000 just to get it into the country. But who pays that extra $25K? The importer. But they don't just eat that cost. They pass it on to you, to manufacturers, to retailers, and to consumers. Trump called it a punishment for China. He said it would bring jobs back to the US, that it would boost American manufacturing. Spoiler, it didn't. What it actually did was spark a trade war. China retaliated with their own tariffs on US goods, things like soybeans, pork, corn, and more. Farmers got wrecked. The government had to bail them out with $28 billion in subsidies, your tax dollars, just to offset the damage Trump himself caused. And then other countries jumped in. Canada, Mexico, the EU, they slapped tariffs on US goods too. Everything got more expensive, supply chains got choked, prices climbed, and somehow Trump kept telling people it was a win. In 2017, Trump signed a major corporate tax cut. It was marketed as a boost to the economy, a way to bring jobs home and make American companies more competitive. The idea? If you cut taxes for corporations, they'll invest in the economy, hire more workers, and grow the pie for everyone. But here's what actually happened. The corporate tax rate dropped from 35% to 21%, and most of that money didn't go to workers. It went to stock buybacks, executive bonuses, and shareholders. It created a huge budget hole. Trillions of dollars in potential tax revenue just vanished. So while corporations celebrated, the US government had less money for everything else: infrastructure, education, healthcare, disaster relief, even Social Security. And now the clock is ticking. Those tax cuts for corporations and the ultra-wealthy are set to expire in 2025. If they're not extended, taxes for the rich will go back up. But guess who doesn't want that? Trump and the GOP. So instead of raising taxes on billionaires and corporations to fix the budget, they start talking about cutting government waste. That's why you're seeing proposals to gut federal programs, close offices, and lay off workers, all under the illusion of efficiency. Meanwhile, regular people feel the squeeze. Services are worse, benefits are slashed, and everything costs more. But the richest? No, they're still riding high, thanks to a tax cut you paid for. So now there's that giant budget hole, because the rich and corporations aren't paying their fair share. But instead of fixing that, the same people who caused it are blaming the problem on you. Government's too big, they say. Too many workers. Too much spending. Let's clean it up. Sounds logical at first, right? Who doesn't want efficiency? But what does that actually mean in practice? It means federal workers are being laid off. It means critical offices and programs like the EPA, USDA, Department of Education, FEMA, even the VA are being gutted under the label of cutting waste. But it's not waste being cut. It's your services, your access, your safety nets. Well, now that we've got all of that empty office space and all of this efficiency working, are we going to, help spread the wealth a little? Are we going to help out other people? Back in 2017, Trump passed what he called Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Sounds nice, right? Lower taxes, more jobs, more money in your pocket? Yeah, about that. It was the biggest rewrite of the US tax code in 30 years. And while it gave crumbs to working people for a few years, the main dish, the real feast, went straight to the top. And we have mentioned this before, so what exactly did it do? Again, it cut corporate tax rates from 35% to 21% permanently. It created a loophole for pass-through income, which is a massive win for business owners and investors. It offered temporary tax cuts to individuals and middle-class families that expire in 2025. It repealed the individual mandate for health insurance, gutting a key part of the ACA. And here's the kicker. It added $1.9 trillion to the national debt over 10 years. Why? Because the cuts weren't paid for. It was a sugar high, a gift for the wealthy, and a bill for the rest of us. Most Americans didn't even realize it, but the tax breaks they got were set to expire in 2025. That's this year. And when they expire, guess what? Your taxes go up. Your child tax credit shrinks. Your standard deduction gets smaller. And meanwhile, corporations, they keep their tax break forever. Now, this certainly wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. They knew the cuts would balloon the deficit. They knew we would create a crisis later. And now, that crisis is being used as an excuse to cut social programs even more, like Social Security, Medicare, SNAP, public education, and infrastructure. Oh, but we can't afford it, they say. But we could afford $1.9 trillion for billionaires? Don't let them lie to you. This was by design. So as for the fallout that we are already seeing, we have Republicans who've proposed massive budget cuts in 2025 to balance the books. They've floated raising the retirement age, slashing food assistance, and shrinking Medicaid. But meanwhile, lobbyists are fighting hard to extend the Trump tax cuts for the wealthy again. So ask yourself, if those cuts were so great for the economy, why is everything more expensive? Why are wages still stagnant? And why is there still no safety net? Because the money didn't trickle down. It flooded upward, and it never came back. So let's get this straight. They tanked our trade relationships. They padded corporate wallets with tax cuts. They exploded the national debt. And now, right on cue, they're saying we need to cut your benefits to fix it? That's not a coincidence. That's the strategy. If you need proof, watch this. They're going to say, we're broke. Every time a Republican administration gives the rich a tax break, you can set your watch to what comes next. We have to make tough choices. We can't afford all this government spending. We need to tighten our belts. I'm so fucking tired of these people. Okay, let's be real. They're not talking about corporate subsidies or defense contracts. They're talking about, again, Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid, public education, food assistance, affordable housing, clean energy investments, even disaster relief and clean water. It's always the same playbook. Give billions to the top, then make you pay for it. We know this and people still keep fucking voting for it. Okay, here's why this works to the uneducated. This trick keeps working because it's blame deflection. You're struggling? Oh, it must be immigrants. Must be lazy people on welfare. Must be China or Biden. It must be that random college grad who studied gender studies. It's never the billionaires. It's never the corporations. It's never the lawmakers who actually make the decision. They manufacture a crisis, then they turn around and say, don't you think we should privatize Social Security? Or maybe it's time to means test Medicare. And the media plays along like it's a real debate. Okay, this is what Project 2025 is built for. This is not just a chaotic mess, it is part of that infrastructure. So you have a far-right plan to gut the deep state, red federal workers who keep public services running. Then you replace experts with loyalists. You slash government programs under the guise of efficiency. You deregulate everything, labor, environment, education, you name it. And then you concentrate even more power in the executive branch. All under the justification of streamlining government. Government that just spent years sabotaging. And the real goal is permanent crisis. So if you break the system badly enough, people stop believing that it can work. When people stop believing in government, they stop fighting for public services. They'll say things like, oh, nothing ever gets better anyway, and I don't trust the government to fix this, and why not let private companies run it? That's not dysfunction, that's design. They want you to give up on government so they can sell it off piece by piece. And guess who's buying? So there's a human cost to all of this, it's not just politics. The cost is real people. The seniors who are deciding between medicine and food. Veterans who are navigating privatized, underfunded care, which already sucks if we're being honest. It's families losing housing assistance. It's kids in even more overcrowded and crumbling schools. It's rural hospitals shutting down and workers getting laid off as federal agencies are gutted. All so billionaires can keep more of their money, and politicians can keep telling you it's somebody else's fault. Okay, so here's the final twist in the plot. All of these moves, all of these tariffs, all of these cuts, they're not just making the rich richer, they're making you poorer. Now, I didn't have to tell you that, you already know, but here's how. Remember how we've been talking about deficits and tax cuts? Well, the kicker is that the very policies designed to pad the pockets of the billionaires inevitably lead to inflation. The very thing politicians will blame on anything other than their own policies. Tariffs on imports? Oh, guess who's paying? You are. Those costs aren't just absorbed by the companies who pay the tariffs. They're passed directly onto you, the consumer. The more we pile on tariffs, the more we artificially inflate the price of everyday goods. A car costs more because parts made overseas are taxed, obviously. Your grocery bill is higher because food imports face tariffs, right? Your clothes, higher. Electronics, higher. Everything's higher, but our wages. So let's look at the housing crisis. This all goes hand in hand. The more we cut public funding, especially for housing programs, the less affordable it becomes to live anywhere in this country. Developers are taking advantage of less regulation, and they add more tax breaks, and they can buy a property and jack up rents without consequence. The average rent, my God. Homeownership? The dream is becoming a distant memory for nearly everybody. So we're left paying more for everything, for nothing in return. austerity for the poor and middle class, and tax breaks for the rich. So there is a hidden cost of deregulation, right? Where Wall Street wins yet again. Let's think about it. Meanwhile, the corporate overlords are getting their way, and the financial system keeps enriching itself. They've made it easier to sell bad investments. They've made it easier to turn a profit without having to actually make anything. And when they screw up, they just get bailed out. While you're stuck paying higher costs for basic things like housing, food, healthcare, education, you name it. This is not natural inflation. Okay, we're told inflation is some sort of natural, inevitable phenomenon. It is not. It's the result of bad policy. Policies that are designed to starve the public sector, give a free ride to corporations, cripple social safety nets, undermine trust in public institutions, and shift wealth upwards to the ultra-rich. Everything we have talked about already. This doesn't have to happen, but they want you to believe it's the way that things just are. And as companies consolidate their power and cut costs, we're stuck in the trap of monopolies with fewer choices, higher prices, and that free market, that's dead. We're left with the illusion of choice. Now, how much can a few companies jack up the price before we realize you're not paying more because of inflation, you're paying more because the market's been rigged? And you know what's worse? These global tariffs, especially with China, now at the time of recording, we're sitting at 84% that they've put on us for tariffs. You know, it's not just affecting the US economy. It's bouncing back across the globe. So China slaps tariffs on US goods. We retaliate with our own, and now the costs rise for everyone. Trade between nations becomes harder, more expensive, uncertain. This does not just hurt Americans. It further entrenches inequality across the board. When big countries play hardball, the little guys get crushed. So there's the concept of the real market that we're left with. You know, we used to have a system that helped everyone participate in the economy, but as these policies continue to pile up, we're being left with a gig economy where workers have no benefits, no health insurance, and no paid leave. We're just working. Mass layoffs, with all these corporations figuring out how to automate their workforce or offshore labor. And the rising cost of living. It's making everything more expensive while wages are stagnant. What they've set up is a rigged game where corporations win and you lose. That's what they want. All right. We've broken down the numbers, the policies, and the way things are rigged against you. But here is the question. Are we just going to sit back and let this happen? You've seen the pieces, right? You've seen how tariffs are driving up costs, and how tax cuts for the rich leave the rest of us holding the bag. How deregulation is strangling the middle class while corporate giants laugh all the way to the bank. And while this is happening, while we're caught in the crossfire of a global trade war and shady tax cuts, nothing's changing. The rich are getting richer, and the people who voted for change are the ones paying the price. But here's the thing. If we don't wake up, and if we don't demand change, this won't stop. They will keep rigging the system. They will keep stealing from you while you stay distracted by the next outrage. The cost of inaction is higher than you think. If we don't fight back, if we don't understand the truth, we'll keep paying for the mess that they've made. And worse, our kids will too. There are real steps that you can take to fight back. You've already taken the first today, and that's educating yourself. You need to understand how these policies work and how they impact you. Knowledge is power. Next, you need to get involved. If it's local politics or protests or discussion with your friends, get into the fight. Vote with purpose. And if you demand change, it's not just a slogan. It's a movement. We need systemic change. We need to disrupt the game they've rigged against us. The truth is, this isn't the way it has to be. We don't have to accept inflation, tax cuts for the rich, and out-of-control corporate greed. We don't have to stand by as they continue to pick our pockets and destroy the environment. We can fight for something better. We can demand a new way forward, and it starts with you. It starts with us choosing to fight for a future where the economy works for everyone, not just the rich. And it starts with taking control of the narrative, rejecting the lies, and building a future that reflects what we truly need.